Hey, 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 everybody. We just gonna give it a few minutes, Darren, before we go live. I mean, we're already live. We're just waiting
Okay.
and in the meantime, let me share the live. Let me share it out to the different, um, let me share it live to my groups. Okay.
See it.
Hmm?
She see it.
You
Okay.
see it?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Kim. What's up?
Hey,
What's going on? You
hey,
know.
G, everything is good. Everything is amazing. I am right now just sharing this to my different groups. I am working on this right here. I'm sharing it to emotions, Darren. Oh my goodness. Let's get it. Let's
This is
get it.
let's get it. We're gonna have some real good conversation. Um, I always just think about you know everything that we do that we have done over the years. We had these conversations, and just so everybody can see and hear right now, we are Kim and I had this conversation earlier. We were just kind of just chatting about, you know, just making sure we were good for tonight. And we always get into these conversations that can be recorded and then played back just in general. You know, I mean,
Yes.
they just wind up going like deep, deep, deep over a simple conversation. You know, what's up, Kevin?
Hey,
Uh,
Kev.
so, let's dive, Kim. So you got
Yeah,
some
let's
questions
get
for me,
it.
Kim? Let's dive. Let's
Yes.
not keep folks waiting. Folks
Yes, I
is
just want to take a moment to introduce everybody. First of all, my name is Kim Love Jones. I am a certified life and relationship coach, and I help people, men, women, everybody. I try to help them to have better lives, and that's my passion. But I wanted to introduce my brother, Darrin Green, tonight because I wanted to talk to y'all about um, it's a thought-provoking Thursday. And I know that a lot of my sisters say that there are not a whole bunch of these amazing and wonderful men out here. And let me just tell y'all the truth. Let me just tell y'all the truth. That's not true, right? It's absolutely not true, right? Because I have brothers who are absolutely amazing. I am sharing this, Darren, right
okay.
now, and I had to tag you in it because I need all of your people to see that you online. So I just needed to do that, right? But a lot of women believe that there are not good men out here, and the devil is a lie, and the truth is not in him. Because I got brothers like Darrin Green who are absolutely amazing. Fortunately, he is already taken by his beautiful Queen Ruth, and but I wanted Darrin to talk about what makes him who he is, right? I wanted Darrin to talk about how he got to the place that he's at in his life and what happened concerning him, right? So, Darrin, straight off the rip, we know that you have an amazing relationship right now with your wife, Ruth, right? But it hasn't always been like that for you, right? So, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about tonight is I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you have endured in your life and what brought you to the point of truly understanding that you needed Ruth in your life, right? So that's not
Okay.
one of the questions, but we start now. We're gonna do that. Go ahead.
All right. So you want me to start the as we talked about earlier. So me acknowledging the fact that Ruth is this is my wife and is my partner, my best friend, in the relationship. Kim and I were talking earlier, and I'm going to go back to what made this possible.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had talked earlier about what was life like, before I got married. So
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go a snippet about me being married, my because this is my second marriage. So me being married the first time around. So I was high school sweethearts with my ex-wife. After becoming his wife, his high school sweethearts, we decided to, get married, and a lot of times, in the relationship, early, the relationship started out blossoming, being pretty good, but naturally I was 17, I was 18, and next thing you know, I'm 20, and then I'm 23, and then I'm getting married at 23 years old. And I don't know any 23-year-olds get married. Some people have gotten married and they lasted, but because, when you don't know yourself as a man, we often walk around telling ourselves that we are men. And at 23, I didn't have a good example, of a man growing up. The only example I had was my boys who I was hanging out with on the streets. And I had, brothers and sisters, and let's be clear so everybody knows, who I am and where I came from. And those who know me do, but those who don't. I grew up in a family, I grew up around sex, drugs, and rock and roll. At an early age, I was exposed to things as a little kid, little 7, 8-year-old boy should never see, and I sex, drug, and rock and roll, and including death. It was a lot of things happening, and happened in my household growing up. And then just being from where we're from from Hempstead, the beautiful village that it is, but we had our fair share of violence, death, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Just walking home from elementary school and walking down the street, you got exposed to a lot of different things.
Yeah,
and those who are listening understand exactly what I'm talking about. So people think this Long Island was this wonderful safe haven, this safe place. We got our fair share of problems. And although we do have a beautiful village, we had our fair share of problems. So that being said, me as a young man growing up, I didn't have no example. I had a stepfather who was very violent, who was very abusive. I didn't have a relationship with my father because my mom and dad had been divorced, and I think the last time I really seen my dad I was about 11. So I didn't see my father again until I was 18 years old. So from 11 to 18, those puberty years are the years that are most important.
Yeah,
so
that's
now
some critical stuff.
I'm 23 and I'm getting married. Who was my example? My stepfather, who was a womanizer, who was violent to my mother, who had 4 other children before my mother got married, but wound up having 3 other children while he was married to my mother that my mother didn't know about.
Wow. Wow.
So growing up is seeing that, although we tell ourselves as men that that's not what I'm going to be, it's hard to say what you're not going to do. And you can't unsee what you saw, and you can't unhear what you heard. Right. And so what I seen, I became. So even though I wound up getting married, I wound up doing the same things that I saw in my household, that I saw other men, not just my stepfather, my brother, the people that was in our community, they called themselves uncles and came over and played cards and did all the things that I grew up around that I won't even go into. But those men were the ones who told you what it was to be a man. Don't let no woman talk bad to you. Don't let no woman disrespect you. Make sure you always put it in a place. And that meant that even if you had to knock them around, that's what you had to do to maintain the respect as a man, in order to be a man.
Wow.
Or false. I never did that. That was never me. But there was, my brother did that. And me and my brother have gotten into physical altercations, when we were older, because that's not my stick. Even to this day, I would probably, I say this, everybody knows that I worked in jail for all of these years, but I said that one might be one of the only times I might sacrifice myself and go to jail. I don't tolerate men hitting women, and if I see somebody even on the street and I'm going to my wife, I'm breaking it up. My wife knows that. That's just not my stick, and I think that, any man that's going to put his hands on a woman, I got a problem with that, personally. So life before I got married was tumultuous, and I was running the streets. So even though I was with my wife and I was with my fiance, I was still in them streets. I was still in them streets, and I was still trying to, hang out and touch as many other women as I possibly could. Even though I call myself being in a committed relationship, and at a point of even trying on the verge of becoming married, I wasn't really ready to be married. I was getting married because it was, quote unquote, at that time, I thought the right thing to do because we had been together for so long. And I say this to women, if you're listening, if you're marrying a young man in his
Mhm.
20s and you haven't gotten a chance to know yourself and he doesn't know himself, what happens is you become somewhat of a mother figure to them, because there's a maturation period that you have to go through with that man. And this is not all men, but this is most men.
Right.
And that maturation period is him growing up to become who he's supposed to be. You
Right.
have to deal with his behavior in that process. And I can tell you that I was hell on wheels. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't, listen, I'm a nice guy, but because of the thing that I was exposed to, I was, I was like every other young man out there thinking that I could have as many women as
Well,
I
you
wanted.
were,
You know what I'm saying?
well,
And
you were
still,
20, you were 23. You were
I was
23 and
23. I was
24.
20.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but right. But again, so these are the lessons that you learn. These are the lessons that you learn as you're going through. So now I'm 20, I'm 24, I'm 25, I'm self-employed, and so in my mind, I'm thinking whatever was wrong, in my relationship, that I'm going to make more money, and I'm going to make a lot of money, me being self-employed. So me being self-employed, the more money I make, the better relationship is going to be.
Right.
That's what I told myself.
That's what was in your mind. Yes. Yes.
Right.
I get it.
Because coming from, being a little poor black boy, growing up and aspiring to be self-employed and follow the footsteps of my dad, because me and my father rekindled our relationship at 18. I moved with him. We started a business together. So it inspired me, knowing that he was self-employed. I wanted to follow the same footsteps, which I did. And I did become self-employed, and we wound up doing very well for ourselves.
Right.
And owning the business, the towing and repair shop, and doing well, having a home and nice cars at an early age, thinking that all of that was going to perpetuate to this greater life.
Right.
But in the process, I'm still doing my dirt.
Mm.
So I'm still hanging out in the streets. Even though I'm engaged and I'm loving, I'm still dirty.
Right. Gotcha.
I'm still dirty. And then we carry that dirtiness, along into your marriage, and then now you have children, and then you start to settle down, and then the light bulb starts to go off. But you also got to remember that all the things that you did, the damage is done.
Right. Right.
So, and that catches up to you.
Right.
That catches up to you. And as they often say, what's done in the dark will soon come to the light.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had some things that that I did that surfaced, that came to the light. And I say this to people now, and I want those who are listening, I want you to really understand what I try to get out. So Kim, I think I'm just looking at what made me change in my marriage. Okay. Mm-hmm. I was 37 years, and I said it took me 37 years to become a man. 37 years, because that's when I got baptized, rebaptized, and saved. And I just recently got baptized again when I went to Israel. But at 37, I realized now at that point that I have a home, I have a house, I have 2 children, I have a daughter. I didn't have my second daughter yet. Yes, I did. I think I did have Brandy at that time. And here it was now, being in this really bad marriage. Yeah, being in this really bad marriage and going through a separation, coming back together. And then what I realized is that, my ex at some point had emotionally checked out.
Yes.
Okay. Checked out. But now here I was listening to a spiritual tape. I towed a car to Brooklyn. And while I was towing a car to Brooklyn, the guy said, listen, do you mind if I put in a cassette tape? I want you guys to realize cassette tape and listen to this. And it was a cassette tape on a sermon from Dr. A.R. Bernard from CCC, from Christian Culture.
I love A.R. Bernard. I love him.
Right. I listened to him, and as I'm listening to him, we listened to that, and he had another tape. Now, a lot of people are not going to feel this, but at the time, this brother was really deep. And the second one was Bishop Eddie Long. Now, everybody knows Bishop Eddie Long had his challenges.
You told me about that, Darrin, before.
That he went through. But at the time, before Bishop Eddie Long went through it, he had this one particular sermon that he preached on, what it is for a woman. A woman's first love is of her father.
Uh-huh.
And how can a woman love a man who's never been raised by a man? And that's us. And that was me. So how could a woman love a man who's never been raised or nurtured by a man? He said, you're going to want to be in his mama.
Wow.
And that was right. And that was me, to a point of understanding, that was me. And then I'm listening to this inspirational and this spiritual, these sermons, and I went home. And then I got baptized. And then when I got baptized, that's when I started to come around and understand what I was supposed to be doing as a man, the things that I should have been recognizing. And then I said to myself, wow, let me change and let me get better. And then I started going to church, and then I started, doing all the things that made me feel good as a man. I'm hitting the word, I'm reading the word, I'm starting to really change my perspective. Following God's path, praying every day, praying more as a man, even though I had this in me. But now, as I'm coming along through this, you got to remember what I said earlier. My ex had already agreed, but then disagreed because she had emotionally checked out.
Right.
So it was too late to recognize the change or the goodness in me because of all that was done. So, and let me be clear, it wasn't all sexy and on her side or on her side either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We both did some things. Right. So I'm acknowledging, I'm owning my stuff right now. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm owning me. You know what I'm saying? This is what a lot of brothers don't do, a lot of men don't do. We really not supposed to, but I'm gonna say this plain, you gotta own your shit.
Say so.
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry. You gotta say it plain. You gotta own it.
But you know what,
Darrin? You gotta own it.
But you know what, Darrin? That's for both men and women. I think we all have been in that place of immaturity, especially when we're young and we get married. We all mess up. Like people, until they come to themselves, that's what we do. We roll around in the mud. We think, what we think until something changes in us. Right. And so what I wanted to ask you though was, in addition to A.R. Bernard and Eddie Long, right? In addition to them, you came to know, you and I have had several conversations. You have come to know that you needed to do better, right? And when I met you, you were confessing that all the time. You were like, I wasn't the greatest this, I wasn't the greatest that, I didn't know no better. And when I met you, that's the thing that made me love you for real. And I was like, that's my brother right there, was because you took accountability, right? And you owned your stuff. Right. So what brought you to that point where you said, wait a minute, I've been getting this whole thing all messed up?
What brought me to that point?
Yeah.
Fellas, hear me on this. married men, fellas, who y'all listening, I'm telling you, this is the real. There comes a point in time in your life that after you do all these things, and even though I had gotten baptized and saved, okay, I had to be broken.
What broke you? What broke you?
Oh man, getting divorced, losing my house, not seeing my kids, when you go through that process, you gotta remember, from the age of 23, even though we grew up kind of rough, grew up poor, to say it plain, but managing to make a good life, have a good life, got married, bought a house, got 4 cars in the driveway, got good credit, got money in the bank, everything is lovely.
Right.
But now the
except for the marriage itself.
Except for the marriage.
Right.
Except for
so
the
things didn't matter. Right.
The things didn't matter. And even though we were going on vacation and we were doing things, we had grown apart completely.
Okay.
We had grown apart. We weren't on the same page. We didn't have the same ideologies. We didn't even discuss how we were going to raise our kids. We didn't discuss, as we were growing up, we didn't discuss any of that. We just did everything. Just do it today, no discussion. And now the bow had broken. The bow is broken. Now we get divorced, we sell the house, and I got to go back to living like I'm 18 again. you know. And
Right.
when you do that, you know, when you have to now revert backwards, you know, and start all over again, you find
Right.
yourself in a deep, dark place. And I found
Yes.
myself in a really deep, dark place, living alone, not knowing, not seeing, not having access to my children, and just going through those moments, you know. I mean, I had to be broken, and I remember I prayed and cried. I cried many a nights and many a days, and I had to learn how to reconnect with God. I had to learn how to pray. I had, even though I had gotten baptized and saved, you know, I was still struggling in my own way. So it
Yes.
was those days and those nights that I was in tears a lot. And
Yeah.
all I kept saying was, my mother, as a kid, my mother had taught me how to pray. I knew how to pray. And for those who don't know, there was something that happened to me when I was 8 years old. I got touched by God when I was 8. And he sent the angel in my life when I was 8. So now all these things are happening, and I'm now recognizing these things 30 years later.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
but I'm in this suffering moment. Every day I'm getting up, I'm going to work, and I'm struggling.
And nobody knew that.
Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that. You know, all they saw was this dude who presented himself well and who was out there doing good things. I was in the community, I was helping out. And even as I became president of organizations and stuff, I was suffering. But what I did was to not allow myself to fall completely into the devil's arms. Okay. You partying, you drinking, you hanging out, you doing all these things. But the thing that got me was I kept myself busy.
Yeah.
I kept myself busy. And then I realized that in the process of keeping myself busy, that I got involved in a lot of organizations, even in the church. And it just became a thing to kind of survive. I was always in survival mode.
Yes.
But praying for love. I asked God, if you just give me one more chance. If you give me one more chance, I promise you, God, I will be a better man. I'll be a better father. I'll be a better husband, and I'll be a better friend.
Wow.
And all I said was, give me one more chance. And it took him 10 years. It took me 10 years of suffering. And I'm telling you, fellas that are out there that are listening, you know, divorce, child support, you know, going to work every day, struggling to, you know, to maintain and to get things right. Your head is all over the place, and you're in complete survival mode trying to figure this thing out.
Right.
You know, and it's a rough passage, but I needed that passage. I needed that passage to allow me to be who I am today.
Yes.
And to be able to do the things that I'm doing today.
And that was you answered my first question completely with everything that you just said, right? And even my second question, because it was what was it that made you want to change, right? And it was the devastation. So we understand that because your whole world was topsy-turvy, and it stayed like that for a length of time, right? Let me ask you this. What was one of the most valuable lessons you learned in relationship?
For me as a man, we gotta learn how to respect women. You gotta learn how to respect women. You know, you gotta respect the women. I caused a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, you know, to several women in the process of the dirt and the things that I did. And when you get older, you realize that not only that I hurt people, but I wound up hurting myself. I cannot tell you, you know, the suffering that if I told people the suffering that I really endured, you know, the pain that I really felt in my heart, you know, after losing everything and then struggling to maintain my, you know, my own sanity, you know, to just figure out some days how I was going to pay my bills, you know, how I was going to get through, you know, and it was so much weight on me. But in the process of me, you know, having all of that weight on me, you know, I realized that, you know, I needed to figure out, okay, this is what it's going to be. And respecting women was it. So I got a friend of mine who owned a beauty salon.
Mm-hmm.
And what I started doing was I started going down to the beauty salon and I started interviewing women. And I started asking women.
You never told me this piece.
Women. Yeah, I started asking women. I started asking women, what do they really want? You know, what do they really want? What do women really want in a man? What do they want in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked that question, I started getting a lot of feedback and a lot of answers. And I'm telling you, over a period of 3 years, I must have interviewed maybe 300 or 400 women, if not more.
Wow.
Which led us now to emotions. So when we hosted the forum emotions, that was the thing that I wanted people, because I had so much in me now that I wanted to share with my brothers. I wanted to get out this whole conversation about how we need to be as men, how we need to be better in our relationships, how we can be better in our relationships. But one, we got to respect our women, and we got to respect ourselves.
Right.
And if you don't respect yourself and you don't love yourself, I love Darrin.
Right.
And I had to go back to understanding, one, what makes me tick and what makes me happy.
Right.
And once I discovered what made me happy, I wanted to go out and I wanted everybody else to feel what I felt, because I was in this new awakening. I mean, I had people, when I got baptized and received, I had some of my brothers that were friends of mine that told me, yo, listen, why you coming at us hard with all this God stuff? Why you talking about Jesus and all that? We don't want to hear that. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Listen, you know.
They don't know.
They wasn't ready.
Know. Or they didn't know then. They might know now.
Right. They might know now.
Right.
But that being said, is that respecting women, respecting myself, respecting a woman, and also learning that you got to communicate well. Because I went to therapy. Me and my ex, we had gone to therapy, and I learned a lot of things in therapy.
Wow.
Although it didn't help the marriage at the time, the light bulb went off later. Went off later. And that was the things now that I had all this knowledge, the therapy, you know, the hurt, the pain, the transition, the conversations with all of these women, the conversation with some brothers that was going through a lot of different things. Now I want to educate and give as many brothers and sisters, people in relationships, as much wisdom and as much knowledge as I possibly can, so that they can have a healthy, successful marriage and relationship. So that's how Emotions was born. Me and Russell, came up with this plan. Listen, let's host a relationship forum and let's really start talking about how to have a healthy relationship.
Right.
Hint, here come Kim Love Jones through the door. I won't even tell him your backstory. But men, I want the men to know is that if you don't respect women and you don't figure out how to communicate with women, a lot of times men will say women are difficult. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is the old saying, I got to kick her in the ankle, I got to pinch her on the cheek, and I got to kiss her on the lips, and then I got to pull her right on in order to unlock, you know, the secret to who she is. And a lot of men was like, I don't have time for that. You know what I'm saying? Women are a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? You know, who got time for that? So this was my challenge to a lot of brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me you got 3 or 4 women. Okay, that's nice. But tell me, if you can work with one woman, if you can be committed to one woman, I would be impressed. But I ain't impressed when you got 3 or 4 women.
Because you're not giving any, You're not giving any of them what they need. You just dabbling all over the place. And you're not even really fulfilled yourself. Right. You can't even handle one. Right. That's impressive if you can handle one. Right.
And so that was my challenge to a lot of brothers. Show me you can handle one woman. You could deal with her spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yes.
And if you could deal with her on all of those levels, then guess what? I would be impressed. But you got 4 women because you don't want to deal with one woman who challenges you in a way that you can't handle. One, you don't want to sack. Oh man, listen. So you want me to go into where we need to go so they can get this message? Okay.
Yeah.
What was your next question?
The next question, and let me just say this to you. I just was watching a video. Somebody had inboxed it to me because they wanted to know what my opinion was about it. So There was a video of a young lady who was crying because she had received a text from one of her best and closest friends. And the text said, I can't take anymore. Like, I'm tired. I've had enough. And in the video, I'm just seeing the video, but clearly it's been out since February. But, somebody finally sent it to me and I saw it, and the woman, and she was crying for her friend. She says, I'm really tired of she's a good woman, and I'm extremely tired of men dogging her out, right? I'm tired of my friend who I know is a good woman going through what she's going through. And these men, if you don't have anything good for her, then leave her alone. Like, leave her alone. And like, literally, the young lady was like, her friend was crying. Like, the one who was doing the video was crying for her friend. Her heart was broken for her friend, right? And I intend on going live on that tomorrow. I'm going to cover some of that tomorrow. But if you had a word of advice, what would you say to the sisters that are out here?
You are what you attract. You are what you attract. So, but it goes back to the women that when you allow a man to do certain things to you, you allow your interpretation of his love is him mistreating you. That's not love.
Right.
That's not love. So, people can only do to you what you allow them to do to you.
Right.
Okay. And that goes back to, I just left a mentoring session that I had with some young folks. And in that mentoring session, when I was teaching them that, do you love yourself? And do you respect yourself? And, I'm getting that from young people, the 16 and 17-year-old that are saying to me, no, I don't love myself. So this goes to women, that are out there. There are a lot of women that are out here in relationships and in the world who don't love themselves, who don't even know who they are. I mean, so let's go to this. When we think about women who are even committed or in marriages, I try to tell my daughters, and have told my daughters that I want them to live alone, and through their 20s. And especially now, my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter is already married with children. But I want my youngest daughter to live by herself a little while before she gets committed, because she needs to know who she is as a woman. Because when a young lady leaves her mother's house or her parents' house, and then she moves in with a man, she never gets an opportunity to find herself. And then she's in a relationship, and then she gets married, and then she gets pregnant. Now she's pregnant. So when does she get a chance to discover who she is? When does she get a chance to discover what she likes? She never get a chance. So oftentimes women get lost in men and get lost in a relationship. And now they spend the next 18 to 20 years or more, depending on how many children they have, never knowing who they are.
Right.
Okay.
Say so. That's a word.
Never knowing who they are. That is a
word.
Right. Never knowing that. So the women are now, they find themselves stuck. I got a husband. I got 2 children. I got 3 children. I'm going to work every day. So now you get into your 40s, and all of a sudden, if your kids are grown, you look up one day when the relationship doesn't go well because you and your husband have now gone apart. Right. What happens is you find yourself by yourself, and then you say to yourself, well, what do I do? Right. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. Why? Because I don't know who I am. Right. All I know is the kids. All I know is how to raise. All I know is the kids. All I know is this house. I don't know anything else. Right. So, and there's a moment. You know how many women I hear that all they talk about is, and brothers, I got a story for you too. But she asked me about women, so I'm going in here. Women are always saying that they find themselves alone, even in the marriage, even in the relationship. My God. They're lonely in the relationship. You're married and lonely, and the only love you're getting is from your children. And in those cases, you're pouring that love into the children. You're not necessarily receiving any love back. You're not getting any love from your husband. Wow. And you're not getting really love from your children, because sometimes the children, even when they become teenagers, they become a little selfish. So you're taken for granted, by your children in some cases, or in most cases, and then you're not even being loved by your husband. So where do women find themselves? Oh man, listen, I got something else I'm gonna tell you. You know, I hear this statement all the time where, you know, men are often talking, and there's a lot of brothers out here, you know, we spoke to and we had conversations, men's groups, and men have said, yo, man, I'm not gonna drop names on celebrities, but y'all don't talk about, yo, these women out here, they crazy. They crazy, you know. So what makes a woman crazy? What makes a woman crazy? Do you know what, Kim? You know what makes a woman crazy?
Yeah.
What makes a woman crazy?
But I'm gonna let you go ahead and answer that. You asked and you can answer.
We do.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but thank you, Darrin.
We do, because if we don't respect our women, we treat our women like garbage. You know, we lie to them, we're not honest with them, we mislead them, we drag them down these roads, sometimes knowing that we're not going to fully commit to them, you know, and then they commit to us. Right. And then,
thank you.
And let me tell you this. What happens is men need respect in a relationship and women need love in a relationship. Okay. So I got to be respected. You got to be loved. And I'm not. And then the love that you want is emotional connection. You want to be emotionally attached to me. And most men don't want to be emotionally attached. They want to be physically attached. They don't want to be emotionally attached. Okay. Because that's too much. That's too much. I don't got time to hear all that crying. I ain't trying to listen to you weep. I ain't trying to listen to you when you come home because I had my own rough day and I ain't really trying to rock with you right now. So what happens is women just now it's a whole different dynamic. And so what happens is women are trying to love us, and we can't even respect or see the love. And we push them away and we do things, you know, to our women. I'm one of them. It causes them to become crazy. You know, we lie to them. We step out on them. Okay. We abuse them. We hit them. We abuse them. Okay. And we make them feel like they're worthless. You know,
my God.
And then when we do all of these things to them, and then when they become like, oh, they want to check your phone. Okay. Oh, they want to question you all the time. Okay. And you like, yo, what's up with the third question? You question me all the time, like I'm in jail. You know, I can use that statement. You know, it's a whole lot that comes with that. But guess what? I did that.
Right.
I hurt that woman.
Right.
I put you in that place based on what I did. But this is me. Yo, we're gonna keep going back to that. I told you I was sorry. I apologize for that 2 years ago.
Right.
But she never got over that.
Right.
So I dismissed it. I dismissed her feelings. And now she's supposed to live in that and is supposed to be okay with that. She never even recovered from that because I didn't even make her feel special.
Right.
I just said, yo, I'm sorry. I apologize. I won't do it again.
You know, I think that is just so interesting, Darrin, that you say that, because real talk, so many people do not understand that who they connect themselves to is the most serious thing you could ever do almost in your entire life. Your family, you can't do anything about that. But who you tie yourself to in marriage and have children with, that's huge, right? Because that person, if they're not loving you right, like the video I just saw, like you had to choose that person. You had to choose that person to be in your life in order for them to be there. And what clarity, why is it that you keep meeting men, right? And this is for men too, because I find men make this, you know, they do the same thing. They don't have clarity. They just want to, you know, men just want to have the relationship so they can get constant sex, right? They don't necessarily need the emotional connection, just like you said. They just want to have sex. They want to eat. They want her to cook, you know, and not all women cook. So I'm not, you know, and they want their house clean. They want to be, you know, they want to be represented well, right? They're not trying to be really tied to a relationship at all, period, if they can help it, because why would they be, right? No, seriously, if I can get what I want from you, and what I really want is sex, and I really want to be left alone, I really want this 75-inch TV, I can watch the game. Like, you understand what I'm saying? And
Yes.
women don't understand their power or what they supply, what they bring to the table, the very essence of their femininity and who they are, right? And women just cut themselves short. And so, because, it's like, oh my God, I just want a man. And so they end up with a lack of clarity getting whatever man, right? Just says, oh, baby, yo, you fly, yo, and then he might come around a couple of times and, whisper sweet nothings, which mean nothing in your ear. And then all of a sudden, y'all locked up in the bed and y'all getting it in. And now you in a full, women, they only having the sex because they want the relationship, right? But they really want the relationship. So for the man, he only having the relationship because he want to have sex. Right. And
so
the woman,
2 separate pages.
Right. Because what a man wants and what he feels like he needs, if nobody checks him, right? And what the woman really needs is she needs a man who can literally be her king, who can teach her, who can help her, who can, And so when I see like women in the video that, it's like, yo, sis, did you have any clarity around that? Did you have any clarity, or did you just let homeboy just, come all up in your space and now you brokenhearted because he wasn't anything real talk to begin with? He really wasn't good for you, right?
Right.
So I think that it's a matter of, I really think that it's a matter of having the clarity that you need before you move into another relationship. Like, if your heart is broken, what lessons are you getting from that? Real talk.
Right. Renee, I see you typing away, Renee. I hear you. Women need to know their worth. And you're right. Kim, I want to go into, because we had talked about this earlier. So I want to talk about 3 things before, we leave people. So there was 3 questions, three things that I was going to cover. Long as you say that I can cover these 3 things. All right. So the 3 things that I said I was going to cover. Do you remember what I said?
You said, let's stay together.
Okay. No, don't go there.
Let's work.
No. There you go. Let's work. So let's start right there. So the first thing I said is, what do we need to do as men and as women if we're going to be in a marriage or if we're going to be in a relationship?
Right.
First thing I said, and I was going to play some music, but I know we can't play music because, I don't have the rights to the music. So we got all these copyrights.
Shut it down, right?
And I say is
excuse me.
Let's work. There's, the hip hop song, let's work. Let me see some footwork, let's work. We got to put that work in, so when I hear that song and I say, let's work, let me see some footwork, the work that I want to see is in relationships, you got to be willing to put in the work.
Yes.
And if you're not willing to put in the work, okay, then what happens is you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
You're doing yourself, on both sides, men and women. This is not equal, but oftentimes in a relationship, the women, one person loves the other person more than the other. And then at some point in time in the relationship, it may trade off, where it may change, but in the beginning it starts out as one person loves the person. Kim, I think you muted yourself.
I did because I'm about to sneeze.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So for all those who were tuned in, understand, Renee is out here with her husband. I see her and her husband, they're always all over the place. They get it in. They do a lot of things together. So they do very well together from the things that I see. Not saying they don't have their challenges. But what I will say is, in my marriage now, I want to just go back and understand.
Let's talk about that. Yes, I want to talk about that. Can I ask you a question first? And I've asked you this question before when we've gone live, but I want you to reiterate. When you
Yes.
met my girl Ruth, the queen, what was it about her that made you gravitate towards her? Let's talk about it.
Well, the first thing I saw, she had an incredible smile. She had an incredible smile.
Nice.
And literally her smile was what gravitated me to her. But she had a certain aura about herself that allowed me. And then once I noticed her smile, I was like, that it was something special. It like lit up the room. So we were friends for a very long time. Because our children had gone to school. And we were PTA parents together when our kids in a private school when they were very small. And I looked at her and we just I ran over and said, you have the most beautiful smile. You have an incredible smile. And we started to talk, and we just became friends. And then the friendship just eventually grew into and listen. So through our friendship, we have been through hell and over as friends, so she watched me suffer and go through my suffering period. And then when she went through her moment, I watched her go through her moment. But what I did was, again, I told you that I prayed, and my prayer was, God, if you just give me an opportunity to love again, if you just give me a chance to be a father and be a good husband, I promise you, God, that I will be that. So when I got the opportunity and Ruth and I, decided that we were going to engage to pursue more than a friendship, man, when I tell you that he sent an angel, he took her from my rib. Yeah, she is my Eve. She is my Eve. She is my rock. She is my foundation. I don't move without her. So all of that hardness, all of that jazz that I did back in the days, I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what no man say. They could talk about me till the cows come home. They could say what they want. I got my best friend right here every day. We move together. We travel together. We talk every day. Let me tell you what was crazy. And I said this. We went, recently we just came back from Israel.
Renee, I gotta say this, Renee. That's why every time we talk, I ask him about her, because I gotta tell you, like, I love how they love each other. And Darrin is my brother, and he could not have done better in a spouse, because that is my sister. She is a queen for real, for real, for real. And I love her.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate all the love and support. And now I'm in such a great place. I want everybody this out there. I want them to feel what I feel. I want them to have what I have.
Yes.
I want them to have what I have. Man, it's such a pleasure to, she is so supportive. Like, listen, everybody, sees my 2 political runs. I'm, was an aspiring politician to do things. She has been the most encouraging spouse. She loves me. Listen, there's a song, one of my favorite songs, okay, by Donny Hathaway, okay, For All We Know, okay, and he said, I love you in a space and a place and time. I love you because you're a friend of mine, okay? When you love somebody in a space where there's no space or time, okay, man, it's just, I love her in a space, in a place where there's no time. And I just, she just treats me sometimes better than I treat myself.
Ladies, single ladies, let me just tell y'all something. There is hope. There is hope. But I have to interject, Darrin. I gotta, I know we was only gonna do it until 8:00, but we're gonna rock it until you gotta go.
Keep
right?
Going. Keep going.
But I need to say this.
I'm good.
I need to say this, no matter what, and and I'm saying this because I know, me and my brother, we talk all the time. So I know a lot that, we're just discussing it in front of you, right? But I know that no matter what Darrin has been through, I know that no matter what Ruth has been through, it was at the appointed time, right? And yes. I know that they both were in this space, right? I know that they were both in this space where they were ready for one another, because Ruth had evolved and she had clarity, but Darrin had evolved and he had clarity. And I promise you that the person that is meant for you is not going to come until you're ready for them. And you can say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. But if you get with them and this is supposed to be your only love for the rest of your life, and you still got the same attitude that you had because of whatever else had happened to you, right? Then you're gonna squander it and you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. And so that would be
go ahead, Kim.
It was really that they were both ready, right? It was really that they were both ready, right? Because of what she had gone through and what I'm expressing this again because this is so vitally important because you can't make people ready either. Right? You got to accept them where they are. Either you're going to rock with them where they are, right? Either you're going to make a decision, I'm going to rock with them where they are because I know where they are and I'm going to trust that this is the person for me and I'm going to continue to rock out with them. Or, right, you're going to say, I'm going to wait. I'm going off to do my thing. I'm going to let them get their head right. If they for me, and God willing, they'll be back. And if not, I haven't lost anything, right? But it is vitally important to remember that when destiny meets opportunity, you got to be ready, baby. You got to be ready. And that's all I got to tell you. Okay.
When destiny meets, hold on. Say that again. When destiny meets
opportunity, you better be ready because you can mess it up. Okay.
Okay. So let me finish with. So I'm gonna give you my 3 things that I'm going. So one is what I tell people is that, Nene, I see you out there, waiting on her king. One, you gotta be able to put this work into a relationship. And if you're not willing to put the work into the relationship, then it's not gonna work. The other thing is that the second song is, in my mind, I want to do a little Al Green right now. Let's stay together. Let's stay together. So where's my together?
No, ain't nobody doing that, Darrin.
Listen, it's my Al Green.
You are yes.
When you love somebody and you're working diligently hard every day to love them, okay, then you can stay together. You can stay together. And let me tell you. And so the third thing is that I say, and hear me, marriage, Renee, I know you listening. Marriage is by far the hardest job that you will ever have in your life. The hardest job, because it requires, Kim, there's 3 things it requires, and you know what they are because we talk about this all the time. What are they? Commitment, sacrifice, and servitude. Okay. And so I'm gonna let you explain the service part because I stole that from you. Okay. But if you're not committed to this relationship or any relationship, even if you're not married, okay.
Y'all can share this video out. Share it out. If you didn't do it already, share it now. Go ahead.
If you are not committed to the person that you are with, okay, it doesn't work. And if you are not willing to work, every single day, when you take a day off, okay, you can't take a day off from loving someone. It's every day. It's every day. It's continuous.
Right.
It's continuous. Okay. And you got to be willing to serve. You got to be willing to serve them like they're willing to serve you. Listen, me and Ruth just came back from Italy. Okay. This is how good Israel. I'm sorry, Israel.
I was going to say Israel. Like, you went to Italy. That was 2 years ago. Go ahead.
Right. Israel.
Italy was 2 years ago.
And so we spent 10 days, in Israel. We were together every moment for 10 days. We didn't separate for 10 days. We flew down together on the plane, on the bus ride to where we were going to Tel Aviv. When we got to the hotel, We, we did everything, in the room. We left the room. We went to breakfast. We toured. We left the tour. We came back home. We ate dinner together. We left, went to bed for 10 days straight. We were with each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 days straight. Never had stopped conversation. Then we came home. Okay. Got up, sometimes I take her to work early in the morning. Okay. And then come back home. We were together. We never run out of conversation. We never run out of things to talk about. We never, it's always more. And even when we got home and we separated, when she left for a few hours and went to work, came back, I couldn't wait for her to come back home because I had so much more that I wanted to talk to her about.
This is what I'm talking about, ladies. This is what I'm talking about. It really does exist. Go ahead.
It's every day, and so listen, I that I'm friends with, just like I didn't check out. I've been waiting for this all my life. This is what I prayed for. This is what I wanted when I was 23. This is the relationship that I wanted. I didn't want to be divorced. I didn't want to not be around my children. When God sent my queen, when he sent my angel, when he sent this, you think I'm going to squander this? You think I'm going to squander this opportunity? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of what my wife gave me when we first met. She gave me 3 rules. And I want y'all to hear this. She goes, I'm going to tell you what I told her too. Because she can hear me right now. So she gave me 3 rules. She gave me 3 rules. She goes, is that her? No, that's it. So she said, don't curse at me. Don't put your hands on me. And do not ever hang up the phone on me because that's disrespectful. Okay? So don't curse at me. Don't put your hands on me. And don't hang up the phone on me. Okay? Mm-hmm. To this day, we have never had an argument that we even yelled or screamed at each other. And when we're on the phone, if we get annoyed with one another, this is how, I came from an abusive relationship. So, people know that. So where we spoke to each other like animals, she cursed at me, I screamed at her, I cursed back at her. We had lost all respect for one another. And that went on for years. That was for years. Even my kids had witnessed it, and so when you know better, you do better. So right. Now what happens is she listen, you don't like this word. My wife trained me. I hate that word. She trained me. Okay. And she trained me to be to treat her a certain way. She Absolutely. Told me how she wanted to be loved.
I wouldn't call it training, right. But I would. Yeah, she set a standard. She set a standard. There was a precedent set.
Right. I know you don't like that word train, but she trained me and she told me what she wanted. She told me how she wanted to be loved. And either I could comply or not comply. Okay. And guess what? I have never hung up the phone on her. I have never cursed at her. Okay. And naturally, I never put my hands on it because that's not what I do.
Right. You're not that type of man.
That's not what we do. But when I tell you that we don't curse at each other, it was so different coming from another relationship where you did that. But she made that perfectly clear. She made me respect her in a whole different way. Wait, really? And she made me respect her in a way that I had never thought that I could. And I'm so happy that he sent this woman into my life to teach me how to be that better. When I asked God to make me a better man, that I would be a better man, he sent her for her to be able to show me exactly what I needed to do.
Yes.
And how I needed to be. And how I needed to be was that loving guy who wanted to be better. She was going to show me the road. And she showed me the road on how I needed to be. And I am so thankful for my wife every single day. I'm thankful for the relationship that we have. I'm thankful for the communication that we have. I'm thankful for the days, even when I get a little bit of attitude and I get a little sideways on certain things. She looks at me like, Are you done? Like, are you hungry? You want something to eat? Meanwhile, I'm still steaming over my little situation, and she done moved on, and
And
she
she's
she talking
still
about, baby, you want me
serving
to make,
you. And she's still
you know what she
serving
said,
you.
baby, you know what she said, baby, you want me to make you a plate? You hungry? Meanwhile, I'm still mad. I'm still mad over here, and she talking about, do you want a plate? You know. So you got to
Okay.
think about that. I'm like,
So
yo, this woman loves me in a place, I'm telling you, that makes me rethink why am I mad? She
right.
makes me better every day. I'm
My
like, this, and
God.
she's like, this is so stupid, so child. And I'm like, wow. So if you're not willing to serve,
Right.
you got listen, man, listen. So I do all that I can. Renee, I see you say that's you and Jay. I love it,
Listen,
Renee. I
can
love it.
I
I know
say I need to jump in just because of what you just said, Darrin. I need to say this. The reason why first, okay, so we understand that you and Ruth destiny met opportunity, and boom, here y'all two are, right? And we got that part. But the other part is the Ruth's clarity about what she was going to tolerate and what she was not going to tolerate, right?
yes.
And so a lot of times women think that if I do not say anything, like if I just be quiet and and then he'll fall in love with me. And then, some people wait until they get married, right? They could be with the person for 6, 7 years. And when they get married, they're like, yeah, I'm the wife now, and they be tripping and doing the most, right? But real talk, then they want to show the other side. But Ruth laid it all out in the beginning, right? She set
Yes.
a
Yes.
tone, she set a standard. She did not express how she felt, right?
Right.
And the
Right.
importance of that is that the reason why the relationship works and will continue to work into perpetuity, right, is
Right.
because of the fact that she had that clarity and she was unafraid to tell you what her truth was concerning relationships. And what I
Yes.
find is that a lot of women say, I'm not going to say anything, right? Because if I say something, he's going to be upset and I just want to, keep peace. And what they end up doing is 2 or 3 years later, because the thing that bothers them, the spouse continues to do, right? Or
Yes.
the partner continues to do. And now she's aggravated and frustrated, but she never set the standard, but she never said a word. And now
Right.
he doesn't even know how offensive he is to her spiritually because she never spoke her truth. Because she
Right.
never spoke
Right.
her truth,
Right.
right? And if you do not speak your truth, then you are absolutely not going to have the relationship that you want in 2 to 3 years because you're not speaking it, because you never told them what was a requirement for you. And so
Right.
a lot of women be like, oh, I'm gonna keep the peace. Men do it too, but they just watching, right? They ain't saying too much. They getting frustrated because well, when you gonna come home and cook me a meal if you working? Like, yo, my expectation was that once we got married, you would be in this house in this kitchen slinging pots, right? He never really said anything about it, right? And
Right.
then now you big mad because my wife won't cook me nothing. Meanwhile, he looking at you like, yo, she come home and cook for you every night, man. You know what I'm saying? But he never made himself perfectly clear about what he needed, not just the want, but what I need from my wife or my woman. And so what it does, Darrin, this is the point I wanted to get to, it is self-sabotage.
Yes.
All who do not know, you are
Yes.
sabotaging your hopes for happiness when you can find that out within the first 3 months of you talking to somebody. If you're
Oh.
perfectly clear, so you don't waste years of your life, because most women are pissed because they're like, I just gave you the best years of my life, and you, but you ain't tell them though. But you ain't tell them. And you co-signed
Right.
the nonsense because silence makes you complicit.
Yes. Yes.
Let's think
Ooh.
about that.
Ooh, Kim.
Hello?
So silence
Hello?
makes you complicit.
It
Okay.
makes you complicit.
Okay. So let's think about how we can help and what my input would be tonight and my message to everybody that's listening.
I want you to talk to the men, Darrin, because I know we got about 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
I
So,
want you to talk to. What would
for my
your
brothers,
advice be to the brothers?
I'm going hard at my brothers right now. All right.
Okay.
If you are not willing to work at understanding who your wife is or who your woman is, okay, then what happens is you are not looking to connect to your wife or your woman on the scale that it may be good for her. And this is deep because a lot of times, you know, listen, this is one of my favorite sayings. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And anybody who read that book years ago by John Gray wrote this book, Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And I read that book years ago going through my first marriage. And I always remember it. And people talk about what love languages we speak and we have.
Right.
If you're not sharing that, there are a lot of men who don't really care about a woman's mental well-being. I don't care about what she feels, and I don't care what she
That should be the first red flag, Darrin. If he don't care about how you feel, I mean.
Right. Well, because I'm not looking to connect to you on that level.
Right.
That's too much work.
A lot
so
of
that's
men,
where the work comes in.
Not all, but a lot. Go ahead.
Right. Not all. Not all. So let me be clear. Not all, but a lot. Men, if you are not willing to work and to understand your woman, your wife, on a level that is mental, where you understand what she's feeling, and you can connect to her, that you can know, you should be able to look at her and see, I know something's wrong, just based on her behavior. And that's one of the complaints that women have said. He doesn't even recognize me. He doesn't even notice me. You know, he don't notice I got a haircut. He don't notice I got new earrings in, because we're not in touch. We're not in tune. You know, I don't. And so you got to be in tune. You got to be in contact, and you got to want to be in contact.
Yes.
The second thing,
the Bible says that, though, Darrin, learn your wife.
Right. It says a man who findeth a woman is a good thing.
Right, okay? But it also tells a man to learn her. Learn her. Right.
So listen. So now, if we go biblical, we go in the spiritual realm. If we go to Second Corinthians 33, okay, where it says that, you know, and this is where it stops. A woman's body belongs to the man. Okay. And then most of them leave it right there. Okay. Where the woman's body belongs to the man. They don't say the other part. They don't say the other part.
Right. That a man's body belongs to the woman.
Exactly. So just like we read that and we interpret that's mine. I own that. So I get to do what I want, okay, all the time. Okay. And so there's no, and again, this goes to the other thing as far as respecting the woman and respecting our women. Okay. The second thing is, I talk about the servitude. If you're not willing to really serve her, just go out of your way to make her feel happy every day. You know, every day. It can't be sometimes, okay? Because they want to be special. But when you put work in, she's putting work in. She's serving you, you're serving her. It's together. You know, I tell my wife, because she's still listening. She's listening to me right now. I tell her there's certain things that she does for me that I can't even tell her that she does for me, because she unconsciously doesn't know that she does it, but is so loving and so caring that if I told her, I'm afraid she might stop. I'm telling you, this woman loves me more than I love myself sometimes. I kid you not. And I can't even tell her what she does. I'm like, this woman really loves me. This woman is, you know, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over me, you know, but I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over her too, you know. Yes, and that's why every day I'm working. And listen, that's why I tell my brothers out here right now, listen, I don't hang out like I used to. I don't drink like I used to. I like to drink and smoke, but I drink and smoke at home. You know, if I want to go out, we go to dinner. Listen, this is tough. And for my brothers out there, I want y'all to hear me and feel me on this. And I still got some dudes that we friends, and I do hang out with some dudes. But there is not one thing that I could do that I can't do with my wife that I could do with one of my homeboys. If I want to go to the club, I can take my wife. If I want to go smoke, my wife will go with me to a cigar lounge. If I want to go to a football game, a basketball game, or a baseball game, my wife is ride or die. She's like, yo, let's go. If I want to go to a boxing match, she say, let's go. I said, babe, you know what? One of these days, you know, we're probably going, you know, you like to go to a strip club or a gentleman's club? She goes, let's go. You know, there's nothing that I can't do. There's no place that I can't go with her or do with her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We going.
Whatever.
We getting
Right.
it.
Right.
Right. We doing
But
it all. There's
what?
nothing, you know.
But you know what though? If you are, and you know, that's interesting that you said that. Because even to a strip club, right? Some people are like, I ain't going no shit. But if that's where your man want to go, I'm not saying you got to be there every week. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. But there should be
Them
no
days,
place that you wouldn't be willing to go with me. Your husband. Oh,
yeah,
let me be clear.
them days are long gone. Them days are long gone.
Right,
So
I know you're not doing
do
that, but
So,
I'm just saying it's interesting because a lot of people be like, oh no, I'm not doing this, and oh no, I'm not doing that. And they have all of these guards up, right? And when you have up guards like that, you literally, you know, and it doesn't, I'm not saying strip club, I'm not saying that. But let's say that you like to go fishing, right? And she's never been fishing before, she don't like fishing, but that's what you want to do, right? Okay, babe, I'm down with it. Yeah, let's go.
We going.
Let's go. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
we
like
going.
it.
Yeah,
We're gonna go on this boat ride, or we're gonna go to the dock together and go fishing, right?
So Kim, let me tell you what I.
It's the same thing for men. You don't want to learn how to ballroom dance because you think it's corny. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. You better go.
We already took dance lessons. Yeah, we took dance lessons a few years ago. So let me tell you two things that I think they're really funny. I'm gonna tell you what I told my wife when I first met her, when we started to get together, and then I'm going to share this thing about. I'm gonna tell you this thing. My wife thinks that I'm afraid of bugs. Okay, and she thinks that she got to kill all the bugs that are around the house. Okay? And she is so wrong. You know, like there's I listen. I don't like listen. I grew up as a kid. I grew up. I had roaches. Listen. No, I had roaches in my house as a kid. So listen.
But you don't have them now.
I don't do roaches. Right. I don't have no roaches. I don't have no mice. I don't have none of that. We don't do that. But sometimes we get mosquitoes. We get ladybugs. We get earwig. We get all kinds. We get ants. Right. Get like. So when there's a bug in the house, I'm like, oh, there's a bug in the house. He got to get out of here. So I'm going after. She's like, oh, you so scared. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So she's like, I got it. And I'm like, listen. And so she goes, I don't know why you so afraid of bugs. I said, I'm not afraid of bugs. I just don't like bugs. Right. So she calls herself the bug killer. She goes, oh, there's a bug in the house. I better get it before my husband sees it because he's gonna freak out. So, she calls herself protecting me from the bugs,
Okay. So, Darrin.
So that makes her feel good. That makes her feel good. So I'm gonna let her have that.
Okay. So this has been so dope. And I know that you've got to get ready to go. We only got a few more minutes. And I just wanted everybody to know that every Thursday at 7 p.m. or somewhere around about, because today Darrin was running a little late, and that was okay because we still went on and did our live, and we went longer than we were intending to. Every Thursday at 7 p.m., I'm going to be going live with one of my dope brothers. So last week it was Daryl Hampton. This week it was Darrin Green. Next week, I forgot who's going to be on next week. But all of them are conscious brothers. Oh, Joanne Jim Star Davis from DC, my boy.
Okay.
All of them are conscious brothers. They're amazing men. And some are single and some are not. But the reason why I wanted them to get on here, and I might even do something one night with the ladies, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because last week, Daryl talked about healing from his hurt, right? And Darrin talked about, let's put in the work, right? But before Darrin ever began to put in the work with him and Ruth being together, Darrin had begun the work in himself. So it really, in a real way, piggybacked off of what Daryl said on last week when he was talking about healing, right?
Because I was hurt. Because I was hurt.
Right. And so what was so important, and what I think is so important, is that women know, because I'm always telling them whenever I go live, I'm always talking about my amazing brothers and how wonderful they are and how conscious they are and all of this other wonderful stuff, right? And the thing is that I want you to know is that they really do exist. There really are some amazing brothers out here that understand what they need to do to be a good man and a good husband to you, right? You have to, though, you just absolutely have to be ready, because even for them, while it's work for them, it is also work for us.
Darryl, I'll see you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kim, I appreciate you. I will tell you this. I'm working on two things. For my brothers out there, I am working on a men's marriage boot camp.
All right.
For those
all
men,
right.
Yeah, a men's marriage. I'm putting that together, as we speak, and I'll get that information out there soon. Because I think it is really ultra important for men to understand that are committed, that are in these marriages, that if you're struggling in your marriage and you want to be a better husband, you're having some issues, you're having a hard time understanding your wife, we can get through that, and we can work through that, and we can find a solution to your problem. We can help you become better. We can help you have better communication together so that things can progress. But you have to want it. So I'm going to open it up and encourage men, to join this book, and I'm going to make it, raw. So I want men to understand I'm not playing with this thing, okay? Because I want my men to be better, and I want to see more people happy, and I want to see more people having fun and living these have longevity in their marriages. I just want to see that. But I want to share this one thing that I told my wife. Okay. And before we got together, when we were about to be committed, I said, listen, babe, I said, if you really want to do this and you really want to commit, I said, I want you to be very, very, very careful. And I said, the reason why I want you to be careful, I said, because I am like a disease. I am very infectious. I'm very infectious. Because once I get in, I don't get out. Okay? Got to know that. And she looked at me. She was like, infectious. Baby, where are we today? We still. I'm still infectious. She said. I'm still in. I'm still a disease.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. So this is so dope.
I want to help. I want to help as many as my brothers out there as I possibly can. I see you, Renee. Nene, listen. Anybody we can help, Kim. Listen, you've been doing this thing. So can I say this, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
People know that we had this
emotions
relationship 4 years ago.
Yep.
So here we are now doing this live thing. And Kim, thank you for having me on. And I've been dibbling and dabbling. We've been wrestling with this thing, trying to get back. I appreciate what you've done, what you're doing, because you held the torch up and carried this thing a long ways to get people to still be open to listen to you and to be able to share their feelings and share with you. And I feel good. I feel encouraged to be back to help tonight. And who knows where this is going to go?
Yes.
We might have to tag team this thing a little bit more.
Yeah.
I might have to,
Can I tell y'all, I've been trying to get him to come back for the longest time, and he's like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, Darrin, come on, man. Come on, let's get it. Hey, Sharon.
I do love helping people.
How are you? I love you, sis.
Oh, look at Sharon. Hey, Sharon.
Yes. I love my Sharon. So, but Darrin, I absolutely adore you. You are my brother. I love my sis Ruth. I am like one of y'all biggest cheerleaders. I always talk about y'all behind y'all back, but y'all know it's all good. And I just want to be an encouragement as well, because people don't, first of all, here's my thing, Darrin, and I know you got to get ready to go, baby.
I'm good. Keep going. I'm good. I'm not rushing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not rushing.
Oh, good. But so many people say, this is who I am, and I'm not changing, right? And when they say that, hey Sandra, how are you? Love you, sis. Listen, so many people be like,
Hey,
I'm not
Sandra.
changing, I'm good. They better accept me for who I am. And I'm like, yo, and it be so many sisters and brothers that like, yo, you going to get with it or go ahead on about your business, right? And so here I am to tell you that everybody is not coachable. Everybody doesn't want what they see that you and Ruth have. And while they want it, they're not willing to put in the work, right? And I promise you all, that if you do the work, in fact, I'm gonna say this again for the third time, right? I'm gonna say this for the third time. There is a study out, and you can Google it, where they questioned 8,000 people. They did a poll. And out of the 8,000 people who were dating and single, they were more likely to go out and be on a second date and deal with someone who had therapy, coaching, who was looking into their own healing from their past. They were more likely, out of 8,000 people polled, they were more likely to go out with someone who was seeking help in the area of therapy, coaching, mentoring for their own personal lives. I found that study to be so encouraging. This is probably like the third or the fourth time that I've talked about it, because what people don't know, and especially African American men and women, they struggle with the idea of therapy. And I am here to tell you that we absolutely need to do something to work through the muck and the mire of our past so that we can get so that when destiny meets opportunity, we are prepared and ready, right? To be a couple,
Kim, you ain't never lied.
Married, to be healthy, to truly learn how to love and put away all of those things that do not serve us, but that we're carrying around. Amen?
Amen. Amen. Listen, Kim, I said, you said it, and you just repeated something that Ruth and I were talking about earlier. And I can tell you honestly that I just made that exact statement, is that a lot of people will talk about, you have to just accept me for who I am. And if you ain't willing to change, right, but if you ain't willing to change who you are, that you just gonna be, like deaf, dumb, and blind. Like, you got an opportunity to see and you don't want to see. You got an opportunity to hear, but you don't want to hear. Okay. And so if you want to squander the opportunity, you know what I'm saying, then guess what? You go alone and listen, I watched my father die a lonely death. And men are not good.
I remember
being alone. We don't do well. We don't do well, being alone. Okay. Men, biblically, men weren't supposed to be alone. So we have to get to this staging point where we want to be willing to allow our women to come into our lives and help us be prepared. One, we got to prepare ourselves. And two, when we meet that woman who has the ability to help me become better, we got to be willing to accept that type of love. And a lot of times we're fighting the love. Yes. We're fighting the person who's trying to love you. You're fighting the love. You're pushing the love away. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. Meanwhile, and then you find yourself lonely and saying, what happened? Well, the one person who really tried to love you, who was really there for you, you pushed them away because you couldn't even recognize the very thing that you claimed that you wanted in your life, because you pushed it. You was fighting to keep it off you. Right. And that to me is really, really hard. And that's why I want to be able to get my men in a place where I can show them and help them understand that loving connection that they need, and how they need to go about obtaining it and getting it and staying with it forever. And keeping it. They can have, listen, y'all can have it all. You can have it all. Okay. If you want it, but you got to work for it. You got to work for it. And you got to stop listening to the peanut gallery who telling you, man, I wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't let no woman talk that way to you. Oh, listen, All of that is nonsense.
And you know what? It's not even that. I remember one time this guy was dating. I asked him to go to church with me. This is years ago. And his homeboy said to him, Darrin, yo, you go to church with her, that's it. That's it. Don't go to church with her. I was like, what? Like, and he told me what his homeboy said. I was like, he's like, yo, she trying to be all serious. What? What? So men be like, yo, that's it, son. If you go to church, it's a wrap for you. Ain't no more, no other way. You know, like it's almost like they trying to talk you out of having something good. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, you know, we just got to decide what we want. Do we want to have a long lasting, marriage? Do we want to be better than what we were? And that's the end game. The end game is, do I want to be better as a person, and do I want to be good to my wife? I want to be good to my wife. I want a good life. She is very good to me. I'm very good to her, and I just want to help other people transition to that point. But I say it easily. It's not easy. You got to put some work in. You got to be willing to put a lot of work in. And if you ain't willing to, again, I'm reiterating constantly: serve.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be willing to serve. Because it's just the way it is, But between Kim and I know Kim got a lot of stuff that she has been offering for years. But Kim, I'm slowly working my way back. I've gone through this transition politically. I was doing some political work, working, again, and that's my servitude. I'm always trying to help people in the community, but I recognize that I had to help myself first and help home first. And then once I was able to obtain that, now I'm looking to continue helping people. But the number one thing in my life has always been love and always been helping people. So I'm going to continue, helping people find that love.
Amen.
And making it better. So we're gonna do this.
Talk to your brothers, Darrin.
Who's that?
Whoever. All these brothers out here.
They just gotta want to get right. If they want to get right, listen. Listen.
Wait, get right or get left? Is that what you're saying?
Get right. Listen. Ain't no point in being like the movie Can't Get Right in the movie. Can't get right mean you're lonely. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Darrin, I promise you that, here's another little factoid for y'all. Men live longer when they're married. Women don't.
There you go.
Wait, I have to drop my glasses. Wait.
Listen.
Women, wait. That is a little factoid that y'all need to Google. Seriously. Men live longer when they are married. Women don't.
Ooh.
Look, I'm pausing.
My wife said we're killing y'all.
No. But the reason why I'm saying this, Darrin, your screen is frozen. The reason why, it's bad. The reason why I'm saying this is because I want you to realize something. With the way that Ruth and look at Renee. Wait a minute, Renee's face is like, what? The way that you love, wait a minute. The way that you love your partner, right, is the way that you shift that narrative. It's not you want to be on equal footing, but what makes you on equal footing, because what bothers the woman is the stress if her man is not treating her right? Yes. That's what kills the woman, because it kills her spirit. Yeah. It's a spiritual death as well as a physical death, right? Eventually, right? But for the man, the woman is the caregiver. She's making sure he's good. So normally men's lifespan is not as long when they're single. Right? But if you got you a good woman, she gonna make sure you get to your doctor's appointment. She gonna make sure you taking your medication, and then you have somebody to share your ideas with. You're not locked up in your own mind, because two heads are better than one. So for my brothers out there who are insisting upon, I'm not doing all that for no woman, heard you. But what you need to do, and I'm not even trying to be funny, what you need to do is find you a good woman and commit to her. Somebody that you know has the principles. And here's the other thing. Boaz.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
He didn't see Ruth at the nail shop getting prettied up at the beauty salon. He saw her working. Boaz saw her working.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
I need to say that. And the reason why that is vitally important is because when women are in their feminine energy and they are working in the vineyard, they ain't trying to be men, they ain't mad, they ain't angry. They are saying, you know what? Yes, I do need help, right? Thank you. And you're gracious and you're in the feminine energy of I need a man. It changes the entire game. Right? But if you're too independent to recognize that there is a king before you, then it's a lose-lose for you, right? Because you got, but you also need to recognize that you're a queen. And queens don't have to run around here being gruff and angry and mad and upset. I don't know who this is for, but it's important to understand the position and the roles, right? And a woman who's working on herself, constantly growing and trying to become a better version, has the pick of the litter of the single men. No, you ain't got to go out with Pookie and Ray Ray now. You can get whoever it is that you want in the field of where you are. Because and here we go again. Right. Because good relationships, Darrin and Ruth, really do exist. That's it.
Wow.
I had to, I just want to say this. I have a class that I do. I have an Unlocking Your Love membership class that I do on Sundays and Wednesday nights. And then I also have a free Monday night call on Zoom that I do. And it's awesome. And we talk about all types of things. And what I need you guys to do is to go to reallovejones.com, and I need you to sign up and order. Yeah, I really did drop the mic on that. Yes, I did, Tawana. Thank you. I dropped it. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to reallovejones.com, and I want you to sign up to become a part of the group. And in this way, you'll get the emails because we meet every Monday at 7 p.m. Right? And then my Unlocking Your Love membership class that I have, that is on Sundays and Wednesdays, and you need to inbox me and let me know that, I'm sorry, not inbox, but to send, go and sign up for that and let me know about that, right? And the other thing that I wanted to say to you all is that I'm here for you. Right. And I want to be able to be a blessing to my brothers and my sisters, but I also need you to understand how powerful and amazing and wonderful you really are, because y'all are dope. And you know what makes you dope? Because you want to work on yourself, because you want to be a better version, because you tired of doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. Like, why do I keep running my head into this brick wall? Oh, and then you've gotten kind of comfortable doing it. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to change the way that men and women see each other and even see themselves. Because you can't get to what Darrin and Ruth had if you do not begin to see yourself. Real talk. Real talk.
Well, Kim, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging me and Ruth and our relationship. Listen, we're not perfect. You know, we have our
No, you're
struggles.
not. I know. You are not, Darrin. No, you're not. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have our struggles, but when I tell you, Renee, I'm with you. Let's change the narrative. Let's change the narrative. Listen, so everybody, I seen your comments. We're gonna post this up somehow. Kim, we need to figure out. You know, we got a lot of people who want to engage and chat, and we're gonna figure this out how we can get more feedback, and because people are posting comments. You know, it's been a lot of people posting comments. Kevin is out there, Renee is out there, Nene's out there.
Juana.
You know, people comment. It was 2 other brothers that were out there.
Terrence.
Darrin was out. Yep. And so listen, I'm with Kim. If y'all want help, if you know somebody that needs help, women, if you know a man, brother, cousin, sister, uncle that needs some help, I'm willing to help anybody, you know, to get to where they need to be. You know, sisters, you know, brothers, if you want to get right and you're having some issues and some struggles, you know, let's talk about it. You know, let's get together and let's figure this thing out so that we could be better than what we are, and so that we can be a better example for our children, because our children are watching. you know, and it doesn't always have to be the negative narrative that people, like Renee just said, let's change the narrative. And the narrative is we can be long, loving, blessed, happy, okay, and be the greatest thing, you know, that turn this thing around. And that's what we want to do.
Yes.
You know.
Amen. Amen and amen. I love it, D.
Amen.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So, and listen, I didn't go biblical tonight. I tried to keep it real to go biblical, but Kim, we're gonna do some biblical stuff too. So, you know, we'll get some, you know, so we'll you know, because God is everything to me. God is everything in my life, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work if God is not in your life, you know, and if God is in control of mine, and I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with Ruth if God had not had blessed me with the opportunity for her to be in my life. And again, I say that to the day I die. I prayed every day for God to send me a helpmate, and boy, did He send me a helpmate, a lover, a friend, a best friend. He sent me more. My cup runneth over.
Amen.
So, all right, I'm done. Listen, we'll wrap this up. We'll do this again.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys are awesome. Listen, I thank you all for watching. Me and Darrin, that's my boy. I love him, and he is just doing amazing stuff. Listen, guys, we signing off. You know, I'm praying for everybody, all of my Facebook friends and family. Everything is going down. Y'all just pay attention to Thought-Provoking Thursdays because it's going down. And hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow on the live. I love y'all. Y'all be blessed here.
All right. Love you. Love you. Thank you.